been found at the inner temple, it would have been caused troubles. So, this is where the criminal decided to take a gamble. They used a burning bridge to get a body across to the other side. And the pendulum was the only way to get it done. Let's think about this for a minute, shall we? Dusky Bridge is about 20 yards long, which means it's about that far from the inner temple to the opposite cliff. Yes, that sounds right. In order to cover that distance with a pendulum, you need a rope at least 10 yards long. To get a rope that long, you have to plan ahead. The lightning strike that night could only have been an accident, so it doesn't make sense a culprit would have prepared the rope beforehand. So then, and they didn't have to get the rope already. The rope was already right in front of them. What? I'm saying that it was just a matter of using what was already there. In that case, Mr. Wright, please give us an explanation to support your theory. What makes you think the criminal had a rope at hand to create a pendulum? And the meaning of this is, if you want to know where the rope came from, why, it's hanging right there in front of your glorious beard. Ah! This is one of the wires from the bridge. When the lightning struck the bridge and set it on fire, one of the suspension wires came loose from its anchor. The criminal didn't have any time to waste, so they tied a wire around Elise Dux's body. Because there was simply no other way to move the body. Ha! Mr. Goddard! He's still drinking.
How much coffee does he fit in
It seems that Mr. Gordon is more focused on his coffee than answering my question. It seems that the odds of a rope being readily available were very high. So I suppose it's not even a possibility after all. Possible or impossible, that's not a question we need to ask. There's only one question. Did that really happen? Try it. I wonder if you can prove what happened to us. Or do you have any actual evidence that bodies swung over like a pendulum? Thing is, we have this one. Before I present my evidence, let's review what we know so far. He's got an infinite coffee cheat in his mug, you know, pigs. I thought I would wish I had one of those. Also, like the coffee is slightly from the side. There's nothing on the right there or left.
You're not allowed to have one of those.
According to this photo, one of the wires snapped. Looking at the map, we can see it's one of the in front of the inner temple. So then, that was the spot where the criminal. Yes, precisely. Now, let's consider the body's movement by looking at the overhead map again. If the body was pushed from this point here, it would drop on the opposite bank at approximately this point. Did you say drop? Well, they must have failed to catch a body on the other bank. What? What makes you think something like that actually happened? Because I have evidence that suggests her body dropped some distance. What kind of evidence? Take a look at this autopsy report. It says here that the body fell about 10 feet after her death. 10 feet, huh? It's most likely that the height difference between the two sides, the body overswung due to the forward momentum and then came loose and fell about 10 feet. And then, as a result of the landing impact, this crystal sphere was knocked loose. That's... yes, this blood-stained amethyst crystal is the one that came off Miss Duxnim's, at least Duxnim's staff. And, more importantly, the place where this crystal sphere was found. Indeed, I believe it's already marked on this overhead map. The crystals was found... Precisely, Your Honor. In the very spot where the pendulum will arrive if given the right amount of speed. This explains your theory quite well, Mr. Wright. You have provided us with a... Just like, click! Okay, we know what's happened. You have provided us with a way the body could have been moved that night. An impressive deduction, Mr. Wright. Most impressive. Mr. Wright. I thought this cold coffee might help cool you down. What is the meaning of this, Mr. Godot? That was a dark and bitter guess you just made, Trite. But you forget one thing. No, and what would that be? The aroma. Huh? A coffee's most reliable accomplice is its deep and profound aroma. The rest of the court doesn't speak Coffeenese. Can you elaborate more? Oh, so now the battle begins, Mina. Okay, I wish you luck. Don't be defeated by the coffee, like by the spaghetti again. But I do think it's going to defeat you because your track record is against you.
There.
Yeah, I almost said coffee, but the spaghetti has won almost all battles you've had with this thus far, so...
I thought it had won all of them.
No, she has one victory against the spaghetti.
Right.
If the criminal has sent the body to the other side, as you say, then naturally there must have been an accomplice lying in wait to catch it. Hey, I'm merely looking at history to make an educated guess about the future, Mina. An accomplice? The criminal wasn't able to cross Dusky Bridge, so who collected a body? What do you have to say about that, Trite? Mr. Gordon is correct. This can't be the work of a single person. Well, Mr. Wright, you know what you must do. Yes, Your Honor. The body couldn't have made it to Hazakura Temple without an accomplice. Very well then, if you please, Mr. Wright. Who was the person that received the body on the Hazakura side of the temple? That'll be Iris. And let's go. Let's go down the rabbit hole because this is amazing. This person can only be you, Sister Iris. Yes, the fucking it begins. Huh? But I don't see why you're so surprised. The only way to transport the body from Dusky Bridge is by snowmobile. But with her bad back, Sister Bikini could never pick up a body like that. And you're the only one who could have managed it. Right, why are you even listening to the witness testimony? On the night of the crime, this little cutie pie was on the cleanup duty in the inner temple garden after the mother-daughter bloodbath. I haven't forgotten, but have you, Mr. Godot? This witness was also seen at the Hazakura Temple, desecrating the corpse of the victim. Strange indeed. It's almost as if, on that night, the defendant was in two different places at the same time. Sister Iris, let me ask you something. Why didn't you mention it when you first gave your testimony? Mention what? The pendulum, of course. Using the sketch drawn by an eyewitness, I have established how the body was moved using the burnt-out bridge. Which means it's now a fact that this occurred, something you should already have known. No, I had no idea. I don't know anything about a pendulum. But the body couldn't have been passed along to the other side without your help. So, you should have known about it. In fact, it'd be impossible for you to be clueless about this whole thing. Unless you are not really Iris to begin with. What? How can you say that, Mr. Wright? What? What kind of nonsense is this? You say this witness is an Iris of Hazakura Temple. Hello, fair and well. Yes, you are late. Are you serious, trite? You mean that this woman is? There's no one besides Iris that could have received the corpse that night. Now I get it. Now I know why I've been sick to my stomach this whole trial. Why her whole demeanor changed so suddenly from yesterday. And why she is trying to pin his murder on Maya. The woman that's standing here at the witness stand, her real name is Dahlia Hawthorne. I thought I'd never have to usher your name again. Let alone see you. It's been a long time, Dahlia Hawthorne. Hawthorne! Sister Iris had a twin sister. And you're looking at her. Miss Dahlia Hawthorne. That name rings some bells. Distance bells, but nay bells nonetheless. Ha! It's just your imagination, Gramps. This file contains all relevant data about Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh yes, I remember now. That case. 5 years ago. But, according to this, Dahlia Hawthorne is already dead. It says her execution was carried out last month. So what? Death has no meaning in this courtroom. What? Order! 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 Wait a moment. How can you? My sister, she's already dead. What kind of... You of all people should already understand. After all, the blood of the master of the Korean channeling technique flows within your body. The Korean channeling technique? Now, where have I heard that? That's right, you're not Dahlia Hawthorne herself. You're the spirit of Dahlia, currently inhabiting the body of a spirit medium. What an exciting story. Exciting but quite impossible. You're asking us to imply that Dahlia Hawthorne just happened to be channeled by someone on the very night of the murder to a temple where her twin sister Iris was. Well, if you're going to pick things that way, then yes. We're supposed to believe that a coincidence like that just happens? Naturally, it was no coincidence. The whole thing was a part of a plan from the very beginning. It's all written right here in these instructions. Ah, what's that? These instructions were written by her mother, Morgan Fay. A part of the plan called for Dahlia Hawthorne to be channeled. That night, there were 2 irises at Hazakura Temple. 2 of them. Even at the time the channeling was planned out, as soon as you hear the bell, lights out bell, in other words 10 PM. However, Iris was seen before dinner time. That means that the Iris at the dinner was the real Iris. And the Iris who gave me this hood was also the real Iris. Meaning the Iris beside the bikini saw at Inner Temple was someone else dressed up as her, namely one Dahlia Hawthorne. Do you even know what you're saying, Wright? This whole channeling the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne business? Yes, it's true that you found the plans to talk about it. However, there's one thing that's perfectly clear. The witness currently standing in the witness stand is the real Iris. What? Calm down and remember what you know about the scene of the night of the crime. After meeting Sissy Bikini, the Dahlia Hawthorne had been channeled. Would we have been stranded at the Inner Temple due to the lightning strike? It was later that the body was moved by pendulum. That's right. Naturally, that would mean that the Iris that received the body was the real Iris. Are you with me so far? Yes? After being notified of what happened, the police came to Hazakura Temple's main hall. There, they found the Iris in her room and arrested her. And ever since, she's been under the police supervision at the detention center. Yes, I suppose. I can't deny that. Thank goodness. It looks like he's finally convinced. But something still seems off, way off. I'm still not convinced that the Iris here is the same one from that other night. Ha! I suppose you're about to say something really ridiculous. Like the real Iris and the spirit of Dahlia somehow switch places? Switch places? To be perfectly honest, there are still quite a few things I don't quite understand. But I do know that unless we confirm the witness' identity, we cannot continue this trial. Iris doesn't have the spiritual power needed to channel Dahlia, which means they must have switched places somewhere. Well, Mr. Wright, since the time she was arrested at Hazakura Temple, have there been any chances for Iris to switch places with Dahlia Hawthorne? There was one. Let's see. Hey, I was right, Mina. The spaghetti won again. Better luck next time. Seriously, Mina, you should get yourself a kitchen scale and start weighing up the pasta and like going incrementally downwards until you find the correct weight of pasta.
That's a challenge for her, and then we won't have fun mocking her.
I know, but that will solve your war. Like, you have this secret weapon at your fingertips, and you keep like, you just have to acquire it and use it.
She wants to, win a fair battle, I guess. That honor among people. Whatever.
But a kitchen scale is such a useful thing. I use it all the time. It's how I get perfect measurements of all the things. That's cheating. Your Honor, I think there might have been one chance. Oh? Explain yourself. Yesterday, for a few minutes, Iris' whereabouts were unknown. Unknown? What do you mean? What I mean is, there was a span of time in which Iris was able to move about freely, unsupervised. Well, who was it? Who could give a murder suspect time to move about freely like that? I'm sorry, I know you didn't mean to, it wasn't your fault, but... The person who gave Iris the chance to move about freely was Miles Edgeworth. I'm sorry, Miles. But this Mr. Edgeworth, isn't it? Yes, Your Honor. There's a fairly large earthquake yesterday, was it not? An earthquake? But yeah, kitchen scales are amazing. Just a simple one. Just a simple digital kitchen scale. And I just make amazing food with it. I bake with it. I do everything with it. It's so amazing. It's also how I managed to get those beautiful, puffy, like, sweet buns with perfect ratios all the time, because I can weigh them up before I shape them, and they are perfect all the time. Kitchen scales are amazing. Like, if you're like want to do cooking, a kitchen scale together with a knife is so good. It just like solves so many problems by having just a set of digital, like just one digital kitchen scale.
Yeah, and in the kitchen you also tend to scale up the knife.
Bapper! We went to the inner temple right away. And it's true, Iris was already there. However, they had already switched places by that point in time. Of course I'm bragging. No, wait. I am merely showing my experience. And but because I am a very humble person, I'm humility incarnate. I'm also very... just Bapper. When I arrived at the training hall, I was met by none other than Dahlia Hawthorne. Hello, Heisenberg. Welcome. Oh, mozzarella. That is so made. Like, that's so good. Deep fried mozzarella is so good. That's quite enough already, Mr. Wright. Now, see here. No judge in his right mind would consider the idea of channeling, and be quiet. It's been a long time, Mr. Judge. That voice. Guess I'll have to ask again. Upon meeting a beautiful lady, a man must always ask for her name and profession. That is one of my rules. Dahlia Hawthorne. And my current profession? Well, permanently retired. Ha! So, you're not going to bother hiding your identity anymore, huh? Why should I? After all, I'm dead. There's really nothing you can do to punish me. What is going on here? Dahlia Hawthorne. I never thought we'd meet again, and I never thought we'd meet like this. But this time I'll end it for her and for myself. Oh, we're in it for the long haul. Now then, let's continue where we left off, shall we? Well, witness. Yes. How can I help you, Mr. Judge? Well, it seems we're going to have to learn the truth. We need to hear your testimony. I have no problem with that. But when you've seen what I have, sometimes the truth is better left unknown. In any case, let's hear your testimony. Tell us about the plan that was carried out that night. The whole plan began with my death. A stupid plan hatched by Morgan Fate to install her own daughter as the next master. But for it to work, Maya Fey would have to die first. The idea was for me to kill her and then have the blame pinned on Iris. The plan went wrong, but it seems to have succeeded anyway. Yep. So then that means you really are. Wait a minute. Did you just say the plan was to kill Maya Fey? Yes. Do you have a problem with that? Don't give us that nonsense. There's no way to watch yourself, trite. If you got a problem, solve it during cross-examination. That's one of my rules. Mr. Gordon is correct. And by the way, that's one of my rules as well. To kill Maya? Could it be true? You were executed last month, correct? Yes, I was hanged. It wasn't exactly pleasant. How did you manage to discuss the plan? When did you talk with Morgan Fay? Last year. She was transferred for the same detention center as me. Since I was on death row and she was my mother, well, it was actually pretty easy to meet with her. I see. So that's when you discussed the plan. Ha! Are you crazy? At first, that woman was planning to kill me as well, even though I'm her own daughter. All to make Pearl Fay the master of Karain. She's a cold, twisted woman. She's thought that she could finally regain her lost honor. The honor she lost when her youngest sister, Misty Fay, took over her place as the master. Ever since that day, she's been working on this plan. A plan, huh? You're talking about Pearl Fay, is that correct? Yes, though at first you had such high hopes for two of us. You and your twin sister Iris. That's correct. Fortunately, neither of us had that much spiritual power. That's why we were abandoned by her, along with our father. Abandoned? The only person that I ever cared about in my life was myself. My sister was a nuisance, so I convinced father to leave her at an old temple. You mean Iris? Yes. My father remarried a woman who also had a daughter. The less children have, the more money there's to go around, right? On top of that, my father had absolutely no interest in children in general. How horrible. The really horrible one is that woman. That bitter, vengeful woman. It was her stubbornness that gave birth to a child, Pearl Fay. She was born with an abundance of spiritual power, unfortunately for her. Morgan Fay heaped all of her broken hopes and dreams on that poor girl's back. All because of her pathetic dreams of having her bloodline become the main family. Maya would have to die, but why? For a bloodline to succeed as the main family, thus making Pearl the new master. The remaining descendants of the current master had to be taken care of. But Pearl would never agree to a plan like that. She adores Maya. How sad. You still don't get it, do you? What Pearl wanted had nothing to do with it. Morgan didn't care one bit about Pearl. The only thing she cared about was the position of the master. That is all. That's ridiculous. She was willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to achieve her goal. The life of her daughter, and naturally the life of Maya Fay as well. How could anyone do that? You were going to kill Maya? Pearl didn't need to know anything about it. All she had to do was follow the instructions in the letter and channel me. Then I would simply have to use her body and finish her job. In any case, I'm already dead, and there's nothing you can do to there's nothing any one of you could do to me. So the plan was to blame the crime on your younger twin, on Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple. She and I look absolutely identical. No one can tell us apart. If someone were to witness me killing Maya, naturally they would think Iris was the one who did it. And the witness in this case was the head nun, Sister Bikini. I never would have guessed she was going to return to Hazakura Temple that night, but she would wound up seeing Iris' crime anyway. But why do you want to keep in a murder on Iris in the first place? She's your twin sister, isn't she? Twin sister? Don't make me laugh. She's nothing but a backstabber. I couldn't care less about her. A backstabber? You just don't understand. You never will. Anyway, You think the plan was a success? You heard me. Just as that woman had hoped. Maya Fey is dead. Now, the title of a master will pass on to Pearl Fey.